Today I'm doing a head gasket job on this Chevrolet Express. This is a 2004, but it's going to be similar for a lot of years of the Chevrolet Express. We're going to start by removing 5 bolts off the front. 2 are for the air cleaner, 2 are for the upper shroud above the radiator and fan, and 1 is for the coolant reservoir. We can disconnect the lower hose on the coolant reservoir and take the reservoir out. Now let's loosen this intake clamp with a slotted screwdriver and remove the air cleaner. Now I'll loosen the clamp on the other side of this intake hose and take that out. Now we're going to drain the coolant. This is on the left side of the vehicle looking up towards the radiator. There is a drain plug right beneath that where that line connects to the radiator. So just loosen that, take it out, and then it'll start draining. Let's remove the radiator cap so it's not airlocked. Now we're going to remove the upper radiator hose. Next, we'll unclip these wires that are held onto the top of the shroud. On the side of the shroud, there are 3 10mm bolts holding it to the lower shroud. And it's exactly the same on the other side. And with a bit of maneuvering, we can pull it out. Now we're going to go on the inside. We're going to take this panel off under the steering wheel. There are usually 2 screws here, but mine are missing. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now we'll remove the center cubby. There are 4 bolts inside here. Release the 4 latches. And now this part comes out. We're going to remove the seat now to give us more space to work. It's held on with 4 18mm nuts. Now I'm going to disconnect the connector right here on top. There's a 10mm bolt holding on the plastic piece that all the wires are going through. And on the front there's a nut holding on the same plastic piece. Now I'll disconnect this connector on the purge valve. Let's unclip the main harness here. And I'm going to cut off these extra wires that were zip tied. Now we'll disconnect the hose from the purge valve. This one's a little tricky. You have to push the little white connector and pull up. Disconnect the throttle body and remove the 3 nuts holding it on. We'll want to remove this hose clamp and disconnect the hose from that side. I could have done this earlier to give me more space, but I'm going to remove the fan now with the 36mm fan tool. Now it will be easier to remove that hose on that side, pull the throttle body off, and then disconnect the hose from the other side of the throttle body. Now we'll remove the serpentine belt, use a 15mm wrench to turn the tensioner, and then the belt will come right off. There's a connector towards the back of the alternator that we're going to remove. And then on the back side, there's a wire held on with a 10mm nut. The nut was easiest to remove from the back side. Now we'll remove the 2 bolts holding on the alternator. And with a little bit of prying, remove the alternator. Now with an 8mm socket, I'm going to loosen the bolt on the back of the purge valve and remove it. Now let's go back to the back side and remove another connector. Unclip these cables. Let's remove this 13mm nut on the transmission dipstick tube. And I'm going to disconnect these vacuum lines to get them out of the way. And there's one connector here that you need to disconnect, and it goes to all of the coil packs. Then we'll remove these 10mm bolts, and all of the coil packs will come off together. We'll also disconnect the spark plug wires from those. Now we'll disconnect the injectors. There's a piece of plastic that you can pull out and then up, and then there's a tab behind that you can push to pull the injector connector out. Right now we're doing the 4 on this side. The cables should be loose enough now to move a little bit further out of the way. Now we'll remove another nut that is holding on the transmission dipstick tube. And we'll also remove this bolt holding on the engine dipstick tube. And this one has a split in the middle, so we can take the top half of the dipstick tube out. Now we'll go inside to work on the transmission dipstick tube. This one also splits into 2 pieces to be removed one at a time. Now we'll work on the other side. We'll get the ignition coil bracket off exactly the same as we did on the other side. Disconnect the injectors, same as the other side. Now we'll disconnect the fuel line by popping off this clip to the side, then pushing it forwards. And then we'll need a special tool to slide back into that connection, and then it'll allow you to pull it off. Now we'll begin to remove the intake manifold. There are 4 or 5 8mm bolts on each side. There are 2 more hoses I forgot to disconnect. One is here on the front. And one is on the side back here. And now we can take out the intake manifold with a bit of maneuvering.